WWE lost without Roman Reigns. Austin Theory have a permanent tag team partner now. LA Knight replaces Cody Rhodes. CM Punk has no issues working with stars who don't like him in WWE. WWE's big options for Roman Reigns' newly formed faction, the successors to the Bloodline, Paul Heyman on Roman Reigns' status in WWE, and more. Let's jump right into it. Austin Theory have a permanent tag team partner now. Is there a new top tag team in WWE? According to the cocky Grayson Waller, that's certainly the case. According to the former NXT star, he and Austin Theory are the best tag team going. He even had a new team name for the duo. This seemingly indicates that the pair will remain a team moving forward. Waller's reasoning behind the pair being the best tag team comes down to the two being undefeated together. While that feat sounds impressive, Grayson is being intellectually dishonest. They're only undefeated because the pair have only had one official tag team match on SmackDown. Grayson and Austin Theory defeated Rey Mysterio and Santos Escobar on a past episode of Friday Night SmackDown. While it was certainly a big win, given Rey's legacy in the industry and Santos' immense skill, Waller is still being misleading. Still, they seem to be an official, permanent team moving forward. During the WWE SmackDown broadcast, Waller sat in on commentary for a bout between LA Knight and Theory. He addressed his new tag team and even came up with their new moniker. The duo will apparently be called A-Town Down Under, a play on where both men are originally from. Beyond confirming that he and Austin Theory are a tag team, and even offering their new name for the duo, Waller had even more news for the WWE Universe. This time, the news was all about John Cena. The 16-time world champion will not only be at SmackDown next Friday, but he will be a guest on the Grayson Waller Effect. For those unaware, that's the talk show hosted by the cocky Australian, held in the middle of the ring. John Cena didn't attend this week's edition of SmackDown. He was in India with select Raw stars, NXT's Braun Breaker, free agents, and even the great Khali. The show was titled Superstar Spectacle. The prior Superstar Special was aired during the pandemic, but this one did not make air. This was John's first big-time bout in India. Cena has been back with World Wrestling Entertainment for a few weeks now. He is currently scheduled to appear on several upcoming episodes of SmackDown, as his schedule is freed up currently thanks to the ongoing strikes affecting Hollywood. Fans are certainly happy to see Big Match John back for however long he'll be here. LA Knight replaces Cody Rhodes. A wrestling veteran has stated that a popular WWE star is deserving of a Cody Rhodes-style story. LA Knight has quickly become one of the most popular superstars on the WWE roster. His meteoric rise stems from his amazing mic skills and stellar in-ring work. Knight has proven that he has what it takes to be a top star in the WWE, and it certainly seems like many fans and critics agree. During the most recent episode of Sportskeeda's Smack Talk podcast, Dutch Mantel stated that LA Knight deserves a hard time story similar to Cody Rhodes, since he had a long road before making it to the WWE. And you talk about Cody Rhodes' hard time story, that's really LA Knight's story, because he hung around and hung around and hung around and went to all these different places. Went to NXT and he went to Impact, but he had to wait till somebody gave him the chance. And then they brought him out and beat the living out of him for the first 2 months, and look at him now because he's got something, and there's no way you can physically explain it other than he just connects with the crowd. Cody Rhodes appeared on the Grayson Waller Effect at WWE Payback to announce that Jey Uso will now be moving to Monday Night Raw. As a result, it was revealed that one superstar from the Red brand will have to move over to SmackDown. Since then, there has been speculation as to who that superstar could be, with many pointing the finger at Cody. While the American Nightmare would be a great addition to the SmackDown roster, one star in particular doesn't want him on the blue brand. Grayson Waller appeared on the After the Bell podcast with Corey Graves, where he disclosed his displeasure of having Cody on SmackDown. Yeah, it kinda worries me who they're gonna bring over. I'm worried it's going to be Cody. You want to talk about someone who's gonna try and overshadow me? He tried to do it on my show Saturday. I'm polite enough to let him on my show. He's making these jokes about hip toss class and skull, and yes, I enjoyed skill with Terry Taylor. Okay, Cody? You don't have to mention it in front of everyone. He continued, I'm hoping it's someone for me personally. I would love it to be Indi Hartwell. Bring an Australian over. Maybe Bronson Reed makes SmackDown the Australian show with all of the big name Australians. We don't need Cody. We don't need these guys trying to overshadow us. We need people who are going to take that torch. It will be interesting to see who will be moved from Raw to SmackDown in the upcoming weeks. Do you think LA Knight deserves a big push? Sound off in the comments section below. CM Punk has no issues working with stars who don't like him in WWE. A wrestling veteran stated that CM Punk would have no issues working with stars who don't like him in WWE. Dutch Mantel has been involved in the wrestling business for several years and has worked with all kinds of talent. Recently, he gave his own take on CM Punk going back to WWE. CM Punk's name has been doing the rounds in wrestling circles ever since he was fired from AEW. It has been reported that the Second City Saint was interested in returning to WWE for last year's Royal Rumble. The reports also stated that he was interested in main eventing WrestleMania with Kevin Owens. However, Punk has never denied or confirmed these rumors. Since then, rumors have been rampant about Punk making his WWE return at next year's Royal Rumble match. The only question that remained on everyone's mind was whether Punk would have any problem working with wrestlers who didn't like him. Dutch Mantel addressed this during the most recent episode of Sportskeeda's Smack Talk podcast. If you go by what wrestlers say when they leave places, nobody would work anywhere because, I've heard, and this is back in the old days, one booker would fire a guy, he'd say, "That son of a bitch. I'll never use him again in my life. Screw him. Go to hell. I'm done with him." And the other guy that quit or got fired, the wrestler says, "Screw them. Screw that B. I will never work there again." He continued, about 6 months later or 8 months later, the wrestler is sitting there, he's making no money, and he says, "Let me call up there. Ching, 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 ching. Hey, Bill. Oh, is this Jim? The booker now. Oh, yeah. What are you doing? Man, I was just thinking about you." And then the guy says, "I'm thinking about coming in. God, I tell you what, perfect timing. I could use you. When can you start?" That's how it works. They only want them when they need them. The news of CM Punk's release has gotten everybody talking. Even wrestling veteran Conan spoke about it during his Keepin' It 100 podcast, where he remarked that WWE could bring back Punk on a 6-month contract to do a program with Logan Paul and then extend his contract depending on his behavior. It's just very weird because I was just thinking in my head, can you imagine if he came back and he did something with anybody really, but Logan Paul, I think could be really good. But I wonder if they were sitting down and saying, "Look, we want to bring you back for 6 months and you're got to do something with this guy, and it all depends on your behavior," Conan said. It will be interesting to see if CM Punk and WWE could agree on a contract despite the previous animosity between both parties. Do you want CM Punk to make his WWE return? Sound off in the comments section below. People used to think The Rock was a girl. WWE Hall of Famer Tony Atlas recently disclosed details about Rocky Johnson's reaction when people thought The Rock was a girl. The Rock, real name Dwayne Johnson, used to attend wrestling shows as a child. His father, Rocky Johnson, worked as Atlas tag team partner in the 1980s. Known as the Soul Patrol, they won the WWE Tag Team Championship in 1983 to become the first black champions in the company's history. In an interview with Sportskeeda Wrestling senior editor Bill Apter, Atlas recalled how people mistakenly assumed The Rock was his tag team partner's daughter. Rocky would be walking somewhere with Dwayne and people would say, "How old is your daughter?" Because Rock was such a nice-looking young kid that people used to think he was a girl. Rocky would be like, "That's my son, that's my son, that's my son." Tony Atlas spent a lot of time around The Rock before the Hollywood star broke into the wrestling business in 1996. The former WWE Tag Team Champion believes the 51-year-old possessed the right characteristics to make it as a wrestler from a young age. Dwayne, when he was young, he was very temperamental, so we knew he had that fire in the belly to be like a fighter because he always had a temperamental attitude, but he was the nicest, down-to-earth person, Atlas continued. His father's success did not bother him much and he worked hard. He worked very hard to get where he's at. He was a very, very nice young man. Dwayne Johnson is widely viewed as one of the greatest WWE superstars of all time. The actor recently teased that he could appear at WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia in 2024. Would you like to see Dwayne Johnson back in WWE? Let us know in the comments section below. WWE's big options for Roman Reigns. A wrestling veteran recently stated that there are several opponents for Roman Reigns to face in the near future. Dutch Mantel is a veteran of the wrestling business who doesn't shy away from giving his expert opinions on the business. He recently had a take on Roman Reigns' WWE future opponents. Reigns has been a dominant champion ever since he won the Universal Championship 3 years ago. He has dominated everyone WWE has put in front of him, to the point where there was seemingly no one left for him to face after WrestleMania. However, that seems to be changing now with a new crop of talent such as Gunther and LA Knight that are being slowly built to be the perfect challengers for Reigns' title. During the most recent episode of Sportskeeda's Smack Talk podcast, Dutch Mantel stated that they have more opponents for Reigns now than they did 1.5 years ago. I think they got a lot of and have just increased Roman Reigns. His opponents, I mean a lot in the last 2 weeks because I'm a big fan of Gunther, but that's much, much later. They got Cody sitting in the wings, now LA Knight. So he's got a lot of opponents. They got at least 6 months of opponents right there that they didn't have a year and a half ago. Hell, they didn't have anybody but Drew McIntyre. For many years, John Cena was considered the greatest of all time because of his impressive list of accomplishments. Now, as Cena's wrestling career has slowly come to the end stages, it seems like Roman Reigns has taken over the mantle from the leader of the Cenation, and even the 15-time world champion believes so. Ahead of WWE's Superstar Spectacle, Sportskeeda Wrestling's Riju Dasgupta caught up with John Cena to ask about Reigns being his successor in WWE. Cena replied that the Tribal Chief is the greatest of all time. In my perspective, I think Roman Reigns is the greatest of all time, Cena replied. Roman's dominant title run recently crossed the 1,000-day landmark, making it one of the greatest title reigns of the modern era. Who, according to you, is the greatest of all time? Sound off in the comments section below. Newly formed faction, the successors to the Bloodline. The Bloodline has been the most dominant faction in all of WWE for the last 3 years and arguably one of, if not the most dominant faction of all time. However, a former WWE champion made a statement by declaring that his group would be the next ones to take over. The star in question is Bobby Lashley. On the latest episode of SmackDown, the current most dominant faction in WWE, the Judgment Day, came out to brag about their titles and were confronted by the Brawling Brutes, who they defeated. However, after the match, they were confronted by former WWE champion Bobby Lashley and the Street Profits. Lashley stated that the Bloodline was crumbling, but it would be his group taking over, not the Judgment Day. As of now, it's not known what the fate of the Bloodline is. Roman Reigns doesn't seem to be scheduled for a return anytime soon, while Jimmy Uso has actively been trying to get his way back into the faction. It will be interesting to see how things play out. The Street Profits could become the next #1 contenders for the undisputed Tag Team Championship. What did you make of the Bloodline saga this week? Let us know in the comments section below. Paul Heyman on Roman Reigns' status in WWE. Roman Reigns was not part of this week's WWE SmackDown again. However, the Tribal Chief continued to have an impact on the show as Paul Heyman represented him on Friday night. Heyman was seen backstage in some important segments this week. He was seen working with LA Knight in one of the more intriguing segments of the night. Later on, the Wise Man was seen with Jimmy Uso. The two had an exchange that saw Jimmy express his desire to rejoin the Bloodline. Jimmy looked to defeat AJ Styles in the main event of SmackDown to make an impact and get in Roman Reigns' good books again. After WWE SmackDown, Paul Heyman took to X, famously known as Twitter, to talk bad about Boston. However, he boasted about the view from the presidential suite and noted that it is too relevant to pass up. We hate staying in Boston, but the view from the presidential suite is too relevant to pass up. Hashtag King of New York and everywhere else. Number is land of relevance. The Wise Man's comments seem to refer to Roman Reigns' status in WWE. Reigns is the tribal chief on the island of relevancy, and Paul Heyman can seemingly only enjoy the finer things in life thanks to him. Paul Heyman has always added that extra touch to ensure that he boasts about Roman Reigns' status in WWE. This was another effort to showcase just where Reigns and the Bloodline stand in the company. The Wise Man approached Adam Pearce backstage to inquire who was getting traded to WWE SmackDown in exchange for Jey Uso. Pearce decided to keep the name under wrap before LA Knight interrupted the meeting. Knight demanded a match with The Miz, and Pearce agreed to the idea of having the two men compete next week. Following the interaction, Heyman told Knight to knock the next time he saw that Pearce was in a meeting with him. The mood shifted once the former $1 million champion got in Paul Heyman's face and answered with his patented yeah. The interaction showed that the SmackDown megastar was not intimidated by Roman Reigns' special counsel. The segment could lead to something bigger in the coming months. Do you want to see a rivalry between LA Knight and Roman Reigns next year? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. WWE lost without Roman Reigns. WWE superstar Roman Reigns has been absent from television for quite some time now. Veteran Dutch Mantel believes the company is lost and does not quite know what they are doing with the story during the Tribal Chief's absence. Reigns' last match came against Jey Uso at SummerSlam. The Tribal Chief defended his Universal Championship in a controversial bout at the show. His last television appearance then came on the following SmackDown episode, and since then, the head of the table has been absent from WWE. According to several reports, he may have suffered an injury. On the latest episode of Sportskeeda WrestleBinge, Dutch Mantel said that he believes WWE does not have any plans regarding the storyline since Roman Reigns has been out injured. Former Bloodline member Jimmy Uso and AJ Styles' feud has started out of the blue. This is why Mantel believes the company does not know what to do with the story since Reigns has been absent. I'm like seeing this, I'm kinda lost in it. I don't know what they are trying to do, what is thought-provoking. I don't know how much thinking wrestling fans really like to do. They like to be kind of slapped in the face with it and waiting for it, but I don't know what they're waiting for, is what I'm saying. Plus, Roman hasn't been around, so we don't even know what Roman thinks. John Cena recently performed at Superstar Spectacle, wrestling in a match for the first time since his return to WWE. However, during the media rounds before his bout, Sportskeeda Wrestling's Riju Dasgupta asked the Cenation leader about his opinion on the Tribal Chief. Cena, without any hesitation, replied that he believes Roman Reigns is the GOAT of WWE. In my perspective, I think Roman Reigns is the greatest of all time, Cena replied. There is no doubt that Reigns has been one of the best wrestlers of this era, and many believe he is the GOAT. What is your opinion on John Cena's comments? Let us know in the comments section below.
I can feel the blood creeping up from the heathens. Got will, got fight, got pride, got reason. If they wanna go eat, then you know I'm gon' feed them. If you're coming for me, hope you're ready for a demon. I got eyes in the back of my head, I'm seeing. Take me